Welcome. Here's a discussion I have with the girls before I go into surgery. This is before my operation for a double mastectomy. I want to share with you my thoughts before surgery, but I want to let you know everything goes fine. And next week, we have the discussion with me 6 weeks after my surgery. So take a listen before I go into surgery. And then next week, listen to me after surgery. So, ladies, I thought I'd bring you up to date on some things that was going on in my life. And you, both of you, were so wonderful a couple of years ago when we had the conversation, and I had surgery for uterine cancer. And so, you know how I take my health super serious. And I do it because cancer runs rapid in my family. I watched my mother struggle for 19 years with cancer. So to say the word cancer isn't a scary word to me is unbelievable. I've watched other members of my family also struggle with cancer. And so I did go in and have some genetic testing done. And it did come back um, with a high probability of over 95% that I will have some form of breast cancer within the next 3 to 5 years. Now, I did go see a specialist, and this specialist did indicate that breast cancer is very treatable in most cases. However, for me, that's not enough. And also, one of the ways of treatment would have been that every 3 months, I would have had to go for a form of a high imaging MRI, mammogram, not sure the legal, medical term. Like I would be sitting there waiting for this C word to pop in. So I have opted to have what they call a risk aversion surgery. So in a few weeks, I will be having a double mastectomy. And I have actually also opted not to have reconstruction surgery afterwards. It was a decision that was made between me, of course, my doctor. I had whether to have reconstruction or not was not a discussion I had with my boys. They could care less. But I did with my partner, Peter, have that discussion. And we have decided together not for me to have the reconstruction surgery. His preference is I'd rather have you here than worrying about reconstruction surgery. So, because I would have either had to stay the same size, and to go smaller, I would have had to have all this other like nips and tucks, and I just didn't want all of that. And to be very honest, for me, I didn't wish to have a foreign object in my body. I do have implants at this time also, and I chose not. I don't wish to have them any longer. So I wanted to share this with you because I think this is a little bit like menopause. Like there's not a lot of discussion around the actual fears that happens when you get these types of test results and you get this type of, I should preface also, the family history is so deep in this on both my maternal and paternal side. So within my paternal side, most of my female cousins, come to find out, have had within certain families, there has been breast cancer. So it's like there's these dominoes that I keep seeing to fall that I decided mentally, I don't think I could take a 3 month, every 3 months, just sitting here waiting.
Hmm.
As much as I look as, I try not to let those things affect my mental health. In time, it would wear thin. So in a few weeks, it will happen. And it's kind of odd. It is a day, 1 day surgery. Pete will bring me in the morning, and by the afternoon, I'll be sleeping in my bed. And I will be on bed rest for a few days, then up walking around. And I will have drains, and those will be removed 2 weeks later. But what's happening in my life?
Well, I think it's amazing that you're sharing that, and also you're sharing it prior to having your surgery. So thank you, Michelle, because I, you know, you must be going through so many emotions. And I don't even know how I want to be sensitive to this. So if I'm out of line and any of my questions, feel free to shut me down. But like even how you chose, you know, you have the history, you still have to emotionally go through this thought process of making this choice to have this surgery. And I don't know if was there anything that helped you, was it the history that made the decision, or it
Yeah,
more the health? Like you just go, we had that our fitness gal in before who said, I'm going to
right.
be to 100. It's like just a little bit more of your thought process of making this decision.
Massive decision.
Yeah.
It was more for the health and the um, if it's a way to be preventive of the cancer coming. Now, I have to make sure people understand this is not 100%. This is a 90%. But what happens with this is because they're removing all that tissue, and I was informed that our breast tissue comes up into our collarbone and down under the arm. So they will remove what they are going to, but they can't go up in here digging. But what is easier now is, we all talk about that breast self exams and everything. Mine will just be a simple rub because I would be able to feel any forms of lumps very quickly, very easily, because I won't have those, everything will be back down to bone. So, it wasn't emotional. I found out about this back in March, and I did not do anything until I saw the specialist in October. So it gave me 6 months of just chewing on it. It wasn't a decision that was made within a 10-day time period. It was a 6 month decision. It was a 6 month of, I've had some conversations with some people who I feel very connected to. It was a conversation I've had with a regular intern doctor. I had it with my um, regular gynecologist who checks me for my uterine cancer. And so it was, the decision has been extremely well supported. And so um, the emotions are all over the place. My biggest emotion is feeling less of a woman. So I'm like you teetering on how important are the breasts? Is that what makes me a woman to my femininity? And so I know there's still important ways of me to feel feminine. I will have a prosthesis. So, I'm a little bit more, I will feel a little bit more comfortable in that way. That's for me, how I feel in my clothes. But the mental aspect of them being removed, and I'm taking 90% chance of me having cancer away, weighs higher than feeling feminine with breasts. That makes sense.
It makes sense. It's still, the thought, because we, again, grew up at a time when these represented us as women, and just like the decision making. I just, I applaud you that you got through the process of making the decision and put your health first.
Yeah, even my conversation with Peter was like, I need your point of view from the man point of view. Like I had to hear from him. It was, well, do what you wish. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted to hear. And I said, I can't hear that. I need to hear what you want, what you what your gut reaction is. What is the first thing that came to you? And he's like, my gut reaction is you should have had the surgery in March. And so I know I have you around. I want to have you around. I don't need your breast around. I need you. Okay. That helped immensely to have that support from him.
I
So
don't know, I don't know what to
I
say.
know
It's a lot to take in. It's a
it
lot to
is.
take in. And for you to sit on it for 6 months too, where you're like, there's no way you're not thinking about that 24/7, good or bad. Like it's this burden on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll tell you a little funny, not a funny, but it is a funny because I try to bring humor. I find humor helps relieve stress for me. And so we just moved. And so I'm unpacking boxes and putting clothes back where they belonged. And here I am with all my cute bathing suits and my bras and strapless bras and halter bras, and I'm putting them in a box for Goodwill because hey, goes and I just had to laugh about it. Like it was funny. I'm like, okay, that chapter is over with. And I think we need to find a way that we're not defined about the size by the size of our breast. Even though everything in society talks about body image, I think there's still a stereotype out there. There
Right.
still is that, there still is. We see it, I see it when we go to try clothes on. You get a certain size and you can go to 7 different manufacturers or style of clothes, and there's 7 different sizes, but all the same number.
Yeah.
Nothing like throwing you into a feeling of you're fat, I'm skinny, I'm whatever. When you know you're a size 10, but you can't buy that jeans in a 10 because they're too small, but you go and buy that size and they're too big. And so, like, I think we need to focus on health and not on what it is. Now, I have to say to you, I have to be very honest. If I was in my 30s or 40s and maybe early 50s, I might have decided differently. I may have. But at the age of 65, this is what I'm comfortable with.
And I love that you said chapter, and we've also talked about, our next chapter, and a new chapter in our life. But I think this really shows a new chapter where you're having a defining moment and you're going, this was who I physically was, and now this is who I physically have become. And that you're acknowledging that. And, I'd love to talk about it afterwards, where we, getting there, right? That
Yep.
and you've worked on new chapters since I've known you, lots of new chapters. So I just think it's again, a stepping stone of where you learn how to take where you are and make it who you are to become.
Right. To me, it's a new person. So it's funny because I'm a little excited because clothes, I can do different things with clothes now because I'll be smaller on top. And I'm just, I'm okay. I'm trying to find the positives within it. I'm trying not to focus on what I'm losing, but what I'm gaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I just want to say congratulations for choosing you.
Yeah.
I mean, you chose your family, by taking this really bold and brave step. And also, like, to bring it to the table to have this conversation, because these conversations aren't held openly. And I think there are a lot of women who are in the same situation as you are, that are in that predicament of having to make those kinds of decisions and don't have anybody to talk to. They don't know, what they should be doing. And
Mhm.
if this conversation can aid anybody, I mean that is a huge positive. But I really just, I mean, in a way, it's not surprising that that's the decision you made, Michelle, knowing you
Right.
and knowing how you approach health and the love of your family and your boys and all of that. But it's still a big, brave, bold move, and I congratulate you for choosing you and making you first.
Thank you. More to come. We'll pick up this conversation on the recovery side. Remember, next week will be the conclusion of this series. So watch for next week, our discussion post operation, 6 weeks after my double mastectomy.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.